Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a highly structured look at the absolute foundation of all motion. Honestly, whether you're aspiring to be an engineer or you're just someone who's intensely curious about how the physical world actually works, mastering these building blocks is completely essential. So, let's get right into it.
Now, you might be wondering, how does a robotic arm know precisely how far to reach on a fast-moving assembly line? Or, for that matter, how does a self-driving car know exactly when to hit the brakes? From the outside, it can look like impossibly complex code. But the truth is, the answer relies entirely on the fundamental concepts we're about to review right now. Mastering these basic principles is literally the golden key to unlocking how we design and understand advanced, real-world technologies. Okay. Let's dive into this. Here's our exact agenda for today. We'll start with the foundation of motion, move into scalars and vectors, explore distance versus displacement, introduce time with speed versus velocity, and finally look at real-world tech applications. Section 1. The foundation of motion. Understanding the how. Right, so before we can study why objects move, we really have to figure out how they move. And that brings us to a concept called kinematics. Kinematics is the branch of mechanics that studies the motion of objects while completely ignoring the forces that actually cause that motion. So the absolute crucial point here is that kinematics answers the how. It asks things like, where is the object? How far has it moved? How fast is it going? And what direction is it heading in? It leaves the why, the pushes, the pulls, the forces, for a completely different branch of physics called dynamics. Today, we are strictly describing motion. To keep things manageable, we're focusing entirely on one-dimensional motion. And that simply means movement locked to a single, straight line, either positive or negative. This could be a car driving down a perfectly straight road, a freely falling rock, or an elevator moving vertically. Actually, fun fact about that, the world's fastest elevators travel in one dimension at over 45 miles per hour. That's pretty wild. But the point is, the object can move back and forth, sure, but it's locked to that one straight axis. No curves, no 3D space, just a straight line. Section 2. Scalars, vectors, and frames. Establishing the rules. So, before we can measure a single thing, we really need to wrap our heads around the fact that motion is entirely relative. Picture yourself sitting inside a moving bus. To a person standing out on the sidewalk, you are flying by at 30 miles per hour. But to the passenger sitting in the seat right next to you, you're not moving at all. You are at complete rest. And that's exactly why we absolutely must establish a reference frame to describe motion. Every measurement of motion requires 3 strict rules: a fixed origin point, a coordinate axis to track position, and a reliable method of measuring time. Without those 3 steps, describing motion is completely meaningless. Once we have our reference frame set up, we classify our measurements into either scalars or vectors. Now, scalars have only magnitude, which is just a fancy word for an amount. Think of things like temperature, mass, or distance. Vectors, on the other hand, possess both magnitude and direction. Now, what's really interesting here is how adding just a single element, direction, completely changes how we classify and calculate these physical quantities. For instance, you could say you're driving 60 miles per hour. That's just a scalar. But if you tell me you're driving 60 miles per hour east, well, you've just given me a vector. Without the direction, a vector is just incomplete. Section 3. Distance versus displacement, the spatial dichotomy. Okay, listen up, because this is one of the most vital concepts in our whole explainer. Distance is the total length of the actual, literal path you traveled. It's a scalar, and it is always positive. Displacement, however, is the shortest straight line distance between where you started and where you ended up, and because it's a vector, it absolutely requires a direction. Think about it like this. You could be pacing back and forth in your kitchen for 2 miles while cooking dinner, but your total displacement would be 0. The real-world stakes here are massive. If an airplane's satellite navigation system confuses the total wandering path traveled with the shortest straight line to the destination, the entire navigation system fails. Let's put some numbers to this to make it crystal clear. Suppose you walk 10 meters east, turn right around, and walk 5 meters west. To find your distance, we just add up your actual path length. 10 plus 5 equals 15 meters. Easy, right? But for displacement, we only care about the difference between your final position and your initial position. Since you walked 10 meters forward and 5 meters back, you're really only 5 meters away from where you started. So your displacement is just 5 meters, and we have to slap that direction on there, 5 meters east. Section 4. Speed versus velocity. Introducing time. So just like distance and displacement, speed and velocity are paired concepts. Average speed is simply your total distance divided by your total time. Say a car travels 120 meters in 10 seconds. Its average speed is 12 meters per second. Now, average velocity is your displacement divided by time. Notice how completely unintimidating these formulas actually are? They're really just our previous logical steps of distance and displacement, but now with the element of time mathematically attached as a divider. Speed is your scalar, and velocity is your vector. And mapping this all out conceptually makes everything click into place. We start right at the top with a basic position inside our reference frame. Depending on exactly how that position changes, we calculate either the scalar path, distance, or the vector path, displacement. Then, when we factor in how long that change took, our distance transforms into speed and our displacement transforms into velocity. It's just a perfect logical cascade from top to bottom. But hey, there is a catch here. To make all this vector math work correctly, you have to adopt a strict sign convention. Because velocity can be positive or negative based on its direction, we need to know what negative actually means in our framework. In one-dimensional motion, we typically say movement to the right is positive and movement to the left is negative. Establishing this rule on your coordinate axis right at the start and strictly sticking to it is literally the ultimate safeguard against the most common calculation mistakes. Section 5. Real-world tech applications. The payoff. So what does this all mean for us? Well, what might seem like pretty simple classroom physics is actually the literal foundation of modern engineering. Traffic engineers rely on these exact kinematic formulas to figure out safe stopping distances from major highways. Robotic systems use these exact position and velocity calculations to move with pinpoint accuracy along predefined paths. When biomedical engineers analyze your walking patterns to design better prosthetics, they're using 1D kinematics. And aerospace engineers, they use these exact principles for navigation, takeoff, and ensuring a massive rocket lands perfectly back on the launch pad. None of this incredible, world-changing technology exists without these one-dimensional building blocks. Before we wrap things up today, I want to leave you with a core takeaway that really anchors all these mechanics. Think of it as the golden rule of motion. The distance traveled by an object is always greater than or equal to the magnitude of its displacement. Because displacement is the shortest possible straight line, it is physically impossible for the actual path taken, your distance, to be less than that. If you lock this rule into your memory, you will never fall for the most common trap students hit when analyzing motion. Well, we've accomplished our goal today. By mastering position, distance, displacement, speed, and velocity, we now have the essential tools to describe exactly how the physical world moves along a straight line. But remember, kinematics is just the beginning. It completely ignores forces. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Now that you perfectly understand how objects move through space and time, are you ready to learn why they move? That massive leap from kinematics into dynamics and Newton's laws is the next great adventure in physics. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next explainer.